Hello MotoGP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. At a time when corporate restructuring often raises uncomfortable questions, KTM's leadership has chosen clarity over ambiguity. CEO Gottfried Neumeister has delivered a firm message about the brand's direction, its identity, and the central role racing continues to play. From MotoGP to off-road, here is KTM's vision. In the fourth episode of the DAZN documentary Volver, Marco Rigamonti, Marc Márquez's crew chief at Ducati, gave an intimate account of what the 2025 season meant for the rider and the team. Rigamonti's reflections mix admiration for Márquez's courage with insight into the mindset that powered his comeback. Pedro Acosta arrived in MotoGP with sky-high expectations after a sensational rookie year, but 2025 proved tougher than many predicted. The young KTM rider admits the bike didn't suddenly transform. Instead, a change in mindset helped him find form in the second half of the season. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. After taking charge in early 2025, Gottfried Neumeister inherited one of the most delicate periods in KTM's recent history. Restructuring, financial recalibration, and a new majority shareholder in Bajaj forced the Austrian manufacturer to reassess priorities. Now, with the most critical phase behind it, KTM is no longer operating in survival mode. Instead, the focus has shifted toward medium-term stability and long-term brand identity. And for Neumeister, that identity remains inseparable from racing. For KTM, racing activities, both on and off-road, are essential. It's a statement that frames racing not as a marketing accessory, but as a structural pillar of the company itself. In an era where manufacturers increasingly question the cost-benefit balance of MotoGP, Neumeister leaves no room for doubt. From his perspective, the Premier Class offers a level of global exposure and technological relevance unmatched by any other platform. MotoGP is not simply about trophies, it is about visibility, credibility, and positioning KTM among the world's elite manufacturer. There's no better platform than MotoGP in terms of global presence. That belief reinforces KTM's intent to remain fully committed, even as competitors periodically reassess their involvement. Beyond branding, Neumeister stresses the technical justification behind KTM's MotoGP investment. Constant competition at the highest level accelerates innovation, while the transfer of knowledge from racing prototypes to production models strengthens the road bike lineup. For KTM, the value loop between racing and production remains intact and decisive. The constant competition with the best and the transfer of development from production motorcycles make the commitment to MotoGP unavoidable. In this view, leaving MotoGP would mean severing one of the most powerful development pipelines the company possesses. Neumeister is equally clear that simply showing up is not enough. KTM's philosophy demands ambition, intensity, and visible commitment on track. Racing, he argues, is a promise made directly to customers, one that must be honored every weekend, corner by corner, tenth by tenth. Fans must feel that KTM is there to fight, not to fill the grille. We don't just participate, but fight with complete conviction for every tenth of a second against the best. It's a philosophy that defines success not only by results, but by attitude. While MotoGP commands global attention, Neumeister reminds us that off-road racing remains the foundation of KTM's identity. From motocross and supercross to Dakar and Erzberg, the brand's presence spans a fragmented but deeply symbolic landscape. Victories here may be less centralized than MotoGP titles, but their emotional and cultural weight is just as significant. Off-road competition is a crucial part of KTM's DNA. For KTM, these disciplines are not side projects. They are chapters of the same racing store. Ultimately, Neumeister draws a sharp distinction between manufacturing motorcycles and building a brand. KTM, he insists, is not in the business of simple transportation. Racing defines the character, the attitude, and the promise behind every machine that leaves Mattighofen, whether it's built for asphalt or DIR. "We don't make motorcycles simply to get from A to B." That sentence encapsulates KTM's philosophy. Movement is functional, but racing gives it meaning. Gottfried Neumeister's message is unmistakable. Despite restructuring and market pressures, KTM's future remains deeply rooted in competition. MotoGP stands as its global flagship, off-road racing as its historical backbone, and ambition as its defining trait. For KTM, racing isn't optional, it's who they are. Rigamonti opened by describing the image Marquez wants to leave behind, not only a record of wins, but the reputation of a competitor who always gave everything. For Rigamonti, that's not rhetoric, it's visible in the way Marquez attacks every session, explores the limits of the bike, and refuses half measures even when circumstances are difficult. That relentless ethic has shaped the team's culture and become a reference point for younger riders and staff alike. It's always been said that he'd like to be remembered as someone who gave it his all. That aspiration, Rigamonti suggests, explains a lot of Marquez's choices, the risks he takes, the way he manages races, and why the garage trusts him in high-pressure moments. One striking theme Rigamonti emphasized is Marquez's capacity to make courageous, last-minute calls, moves that can catch rivals and sometimes the team itself off guard. Those decisions aren't recklessness, Rigamonti says, but lucid assessments under pressure, the kind of instinct that converts marginal opportunities into race-winning moments. It's this blend of bravery and timing that often gives Marquez an edge when the race is decided by a few tenths. He has the courage to make decisions that go against the grain. That courage is strategic. It's less about showmanship and more about seizing moments others think are too risky to touch. Rigamonti reflected on the emotional arc of Marquez's recent career, the surgeries, the setbacks, the long rehabilitation. Those difficult years shaped a rider who now values victories differently, not as inevitable milestones, but as rewards earned after sacrifice. Rigamonti recounts conversations where Marquez himself urged the team to celebrate wins fully because the alternation between success and suffering is a reminder of how fragile momentum can be. "We never know what's best for us until the end." That philosophy, cautious in process, exuberant in celebration, helped the team maintain perspective during a season that was both triumphant and testing. Finally, Rigamonti emphasized the human payoff, the joy in the garage, the relief of shared achievement, and the sense that Marquez's resurgence adds new value to the sport's history. He urged recognition not only for titles, but for the broader emotional return, how a champion's comeback lifts morale, relaxes the paddock, and becomes a story that extends beyond lap times and trophies. Even though things aren't going well, he's given 100%. That line captures the essence of Rigamonti's message. Regardless of circumstances, Marquez's commitment remained absolute, and that commitment is what turned obstacles into moments worth celebrating. Heading into 2025, Acosta and KTM were tipped to fight at the front. Instead, the opening rounds exposed recurring mechanical and tire problems that turned speed into frustration. The RC16 struggled with tire consumption and braking, symptoms that left the team hunting for answers while results slipped away. Pedro's blunt assessment underlines the mismatch between preseason hopes and mid-season reality. Incremental updates were made, but they did not suddenly erase the fundamental weaknesses the bike displayed in race conditions. To be honest, the bike didn't improve a lot because we didn't change so much. That honesty matters. Acosta doesn't hide behind excuses. He credits limited technical steps and recognizes that, on paper, the package remained largely the same even as expectations soared. The turning point wasn't a miracle update in the factory, it was a personal recalibration. When Acosta stopped chasing the title as an immediate objective and focused on extracting the maximum from each weekend, his results began to stabilize. Freed from the weight of expectations, he focused on consistency, small goals, clean runs, maximizing every sprint and minimizing damage in tougher races. That switch from "I must win the championship" to I must ride my best, produced clearer decision-making and steadier finishes. From the moment I started to forget about the championship dream, I started to just try to get 100% from my package. It's a lesson in temperament. Sometimes performance improves not because the hardware changes, but because the rider's approach does. Acosta was careful to credit a few technical tweaks, a new fairing here, a revised swing arm there, but insisted these were marginal rather than transformational. The bigger improvement came in race craft and physical readiness, an arm pump operation after her race, small setup refinements, and clearer targets from the team. The results didn't flip overnight, but the second half showed more top 5 finishes and a handful of podium threats. Those incremental steps prove that parity can sometimes be built lap by lap, not with a single headline update. Maybe we found also, since I had this arm pump surgery after the Jerez test, we found some different things. But the bike was not that different. That admission reframes the season as evolutionary, not revolutionary. Progress forged by marginal gains and a steadier mindset. Acosta's closing diagnosis is refreshingly frank. Be pleased with how his mental reset produced results, but don't pretend KTM are yet at the level of Aprilia or Ducati. He recognizes the work ahead, more consistent grip, better tire life and improvements in the braking phase, and he's realistic about where KTM sits on the grid. Still, the late season momentum offers a template. Targeted development plus the right mental approach can close gaps over time. We have to be happy in one way, thinking like this, but with it being true that we were missing a lot this season to be as competitive as Aprilia, who improved so much, and Ducati is still the main manufacturer. In short, there were positive signs, but the job is far from done, and Acosta knows exactly which areas require focused work. Pedro Acosta's 2025 was a study in adaptation, not just to MotoGP's machinery, but to its pressure. The RC16 didn't suddenly become a different bike. Acosta became a different rider. By stepping off the championship pedestal and grinding for consistency, he salvaged a season and produced a platform to build on. For KTM, the takeaway is clear: technical upgrades matter, but mindset and marginal gains can be the spark that turns potential into podiums. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!